Okay, so today, I think today is the last day of this month. Okay, so today, I think today is the last day of this month's session. Mm, mm, okay. So I think last week we went through the out of the six parameters, we went through the fifth one. We covered a lot last week in regards to um, meditation, methods of meditation. I think in regards to meditation, last month also we covered a little bit in regards to the three types of meditations that we were talking about. And now that we went through the first five parameters, the sixth parameter is extremely important to, it's like conjunction, we call it, right? So to conjoin all of the other parameters in your practice. So this is very important, which is wisdom. So this time we'll go through wisdom. Um, did I miss anything last week? Mm, no, okay. So, sangye jodang tsoge zonam la chancho kodo dane yep sunche dage tse so yebe sonam ge dola benje sangye do ba shu. Sangye jodang tsoge zonam la chancho kodo dane yep sunche dage tse so yebe sonam dola benje sangye do ba shu. Sangye jodang tsoge zonam la chancho kodo dane yep sunche dage tse so yebe sonam ge dola benje sangye do ba shu. Okay, with this motivation, today I think the main goal is to use wisdom in order to combine all of the six parameters, conjoin them in our practice, and the importance of wisdom is very important in the sense that it provides direct understanding of reality as it is, which is extremely important because falsified reality is what we conventional or falsified reality is a major issue in our inner suffering. External suffering, of course, has many other different factors, starting from our own karma, and also in regards to karma, we have talked about it in the past that karma is not something that is solidified, extremely agile, extremely changeable, and extremely, what do we say, mendable. So whenever I think about karma, I always in my mind always the same thing appears, which is last time I think I also mentioned, it's like a child's play-doh in your own hand. So whenever you're moving your hand, then the shape of the play-doh changes. So always think about karma in that sense. So external conditions, factors, a lot of factors come from external karma, whether it be the past, whether it be the present, or whether it be what do we say, seeds that you lay for the future. Now, internal discomfort, unhappiness, mental, what do we say, problems in regards to dealing with our destructive emotions. Now, those are internal things. And this, in order to negate that, we need to be able to see what true reality is. Without the understanding of true reality, then we are, what is a momentarily blinded by our emotions, by our negative thoughts and destructive thoughts, three poisons, so on and so forth. And these ones help sort of like provide the right conditions for the mind to not be satisfied, not be happy, not be, so basically the main backing of wisdom is to understand the true nature of reality. um, not just the true nature of reality, but the true nature of all phenomena, whether it be impermanent or whether it be permanent. Still, the perspective has to be applied to understand it. And then, what do we say? Mostly conceptual overlays as well, and then misunderstandings. And then also, in regards to that, also, what do we say? Be able to differentiate between what is true and false, and then what is beneficial and harmful. So I think these will be covered today in some sense. um, so after after being able to apply the method of meditation, whether it be meditation, meditating through the, what do we say, through single pointedness, which I explained as building your ability, your strength of your mind to be able to concentrate, so that you can utilize that concentration in the meditation of analytical meditation. And through the analytical meditation, applying the learning to apply all kinds of different, what do we say, methods, which we will cover today, what comes in the analytical meditation. And through that, then using wisdom mainly in the analytical meditation part. Okay, so wisdom very strongly connected to the analytical meditation part. And then also meditation of patience, because not everything comes as fast as we want always. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes patience, it takes not just patience, external patience, but internal patience as well for yourself as well, and then so on and so forth. So uh, hopefully we can connect that with what do you say, living examples that we have experienced, and slowly we can conjoin those two through the wisdom that we have, and then apply in our practice. Yeah. So mainly, I think is comes through that perspective, whether we are learning to apply, whether we are learning to develop, whether we are learning to combine. I think pretty much the same. Mainly, it's in regards to what do we say, being able to apply that method in the sense that it can give us a more uh, what do we say, more solid um, uh, what do we say, more solid means to our practice. And then of course it's not just means, it's also in regards to our own um, what do we say, our own uh, internal support, yeah, confidence, and so on and so forth. So in reliance to that, I think mostly. So anyway, on the I think we'll do the same method. There's always a basic practice, then the practice of the bodhisattvas, and then of course the higher practice, which would be on the tantric path, application of the wisdom on the tantric path as well. On the basic practice of wisdom, I think generally study or application of the logic, or the application of the means of the dependent origination. Um, that one would be one of the main points at the basic level. Now, dependent origination, tenitakpa. We'll go deeper into it, but tenitakpa is uh, labeled on the basis sort of thing, right? That's I think the word, the exact word is labeling on the basis, right? So therefore, everything exists on the basis of dependence on something, and the labeling is what is in existence, and uh, and uh, and uh, and dependence, tempa means dependent. So depending on that basis, then the label starts to arise. So of course, the main concept would be through the concept of dependent origination. Then, of course, on top of that, then the understanding of the three marks of existence is also very, very essential to understanding the self. Because without understanding the self, the what we say, the foundation of wanting to practice also doesn't arise. So in Buddhism, sometimes we're always talking about, oh, we need to let go of the selflessness. Self is dangerous. There's pride, there's anger, what do you say, the self pride and so on and so forth. So we're always talking like that. Um, but I always say that is on the practice of bodhisattvas. If you are a bodhisattva, then definitely that practice is applicable and applicable. You can let go of the self. You can be selfless. You can, the great masters of the past who practiced bodhisattva, including Buddha, in his previous lives, were able to sacrifice their own body, cutting their own flesh to offer to others necessary. I think most of you are quite in tune with the story of the Buddha and the five disciples. The five disciples in one of Buddha's previous lives was a tiger, and the four cubs in now in I think in Namo Buddha there's a place where the Buddha offered his body to the tigress and the cubs, and they have a sort of like a statue of a tiger and a cub. So anyway, in the practice of the bodhisattvas, these kind of intentions are actually not hard. When you have the right motivation and the right sense, then it becomes easy. On a not on the bodhisattva's path, on a normal path, then sacrifice becomes easier only for certain things. Definitely not for a tiger, and definitely not for enemies. But when it comes to your loved ones, when it comes to your near and dear ones, then these kind of sacrifices are not very hard. People are willing to do that. If you are a parent, then you as a parent having a child, sacrificing your time, your effort and everything to make money in order to support the child so that the child has a good future, so on and so forth. These are all sacrifices. These are all sacrifices in the sense of what do we say, generosity. Yeah. Of course, selflessness becomes a main sort of like a main power that pushes that need to do things for others, right? So yeah, so definitely that would be the sense, mm, on a application on a bodhisattva's path. Then without having the mindset of a bodhisattva, then being complete selfless becomes a little bit stupid in some ways, I think. Yeah, His Holiness always mentions, be a bodhisattva, but not a stupid bodhisattva. So similarly, as human beings, not even bodhisattvas, as human beings, like me personally, as a human being, I need to be selfless, but not stupid selfless, right? So same thing applies, I think, here as well. So in sense, that's why I think understanding the three marks of existence is also very important, so that you can define the fine lines between what to practice and what not to practice. So in that, of course, impermanence is a very important aspect of it. Then what is it? Unsatisfaction, right? Unsatisfaction, and then non-self, understanding the non-self from the core itself, right? So that becomes another thing. And then in regards to practice, and then the analytical meditation on emptiness, of course, that is the main source of understanding what do we say, true nature of reality. So that also becomes what do we say, an important practice. And in regards to understanding that, then the five aggregate contemplation, that one is a practice, of course, important practice for the beginners. Then investigation of phenomena, which in regards, I think, debating dialectics with friends, so on and so forth, Dharma friends, so on and so forth. This is also important because the understanding not just comes from one side, it comes from all different aspects. Yeah. When you understand something from 10 different sides, then that's when you become a what do you say, professor in regards to it, right? In the um, in the West now, education in regards to education nowadays, then you have someone who masters in arts, masters in technology, masters in that, masters in this. So in regards to that also, I think same thing. When you want to be want to become a professor in something, mathematics, if you want to become a professor in mathematics, then understanding mathematics from all different angles, all different concepts, all different views, all different perceptions becomes extremely important, because that's where you get the what do we say, the means and the methods for the application. So same thing, to master it, you need to understand what do we say, emptiness, and that method to understand emptiness is through the contemplation of the five aggregates, of course, and then also investigation of phenomena, and then also mindfulness practice, right? So these would be the three main methods at the beginner's level to practice the view of emptiness. Then, of course, I think one thing is then at the end, what's applied in all three different levels is wisdom, because I think wisdom very clearly sort of like defined in the concept of the middle way, right? Wisdom, the sense application of the wisdom in the sense is basically not going to nihilism and not going to extreme, what is it, extremism or something like that. Yeah, maybe my words are not right, but anyway, I think you get what I mean. Not going to the extreme and not going to the point of nihilism. So always finding a perfect path in the right in the middle, so that you can apply practices in your daily life. So this one I think applied in all three levels. Now, in regards to the application of the Bodhisattva practice, then we go a little bit more deeper. Yeah. Then I think one of the first things would be understanding the two truths, conventional truth, then ultimate truth. This is the means of wanting, of developing great compassion, or the supreme emotion. So of course, first one I would say, yeah, the two truths, yeah, understanding the two truths, then development of what we say, correct view, right, thought, and then development of the correct view and thought. I think two methods, study, or I mean study. Studying is of course knowledge, and knowledge is important. So studying of the middle way, yeah, madhyamika philosophy. Um, this one defined. Now you go a little bit more deeper into the application of the defining of wisdom, then also contemplation of emptiness through the means of the Madhyamika practice, right? So that one, and then of course integration with the other paramitas. I think I mentioned that also on every path, the application of, especially in the Bodhisattva's path, that the 10 paramitas, the application of the 10 paramitas are always going together with each other, right? So you have, when you have wisdom, then you have what do we say, ethics, right? So you have wisdom and ethics. So application of wisdom itself, then application of wisdom with ethics, then so by application of wisdom with ethics through patience, and then application. So like that, everything, all of the 10 parameters are conjoined, they need to be practiced together. So that is another practice that you need to do on the bodhisattva's path. Of course, you can do a lighter version on the what do we say, on the beginner's path, but of course mainly application of the paths, I mean of the 10 parameters on the 10 level, 10 paths becomes important there. Then applying what we say, so mainly, yeah, something like that, applying wisdom in ethical conduct, understanding the nature of patience, wisdom in uh, the wisdom in perseverance, what do we get out of, so basically it is analytical. I think to understand something we always need to ask question, right? The more questions you ask, the better you understand. So it's utmost important that you ask question with each paramita and learn mentally. When you're meditating, analytical meditation, you sleep on the bed, you can sit on your chair rocking back and forth, you can do any method, doesn't matter. But when you're analytical researching, then you close your eyes and you think, okay, wisdom. Yeah, when I want to apply wisdom, the first thing that comes in the 10 paramita is generosity. So, how do I infuse generosity with uh, what do we say, moral ethics? How do I make my generous moral and ethical? Sometimes when you are too generous, then sometimes it's not moral. Generosity can be an action. Yeah, so nowadays you have a lot of these where people have a camera like this and then video, then they have money in their hand and they go like this and then they give to someone. Whether that is, of course, there's generosity, great, great generosity. You know, if you don't take the money back after the camera is off, then of course it's great, great generosity. But then how moral is it? How ethical is it? Yeah, so these, like I said, these are things to ponder on. Then, of course, what is generosity? We went through a whole list of things, explanations in regards to generosity. I mean, the six parameters now, just wisdom, other than wisdom, everything we already covered pretty much. So, in regards to understanding their what we say, their definition, and in our regards to understanding what they are, not just in action, but starting from yourself, what they are, what is generosity for you? What is generosity for you in action? What is generosity for you in receiving? What is generosity for you in sharing? Right? Then it starts always starts with you. Then comes the next question: what is generosity for others? Yeah, what is generosity for others in receiving? What is generosity for others in giving? And what is generosity for others in sharing? So these, if you analytically research, you start to come up with different answers. And not just different answers, everyone comes up with different answers, but most likely the answer that you need can come up very clearly, because a lot of us, half of the time, we have problem because we don't ask questions, not just to others, but we don't ask questions to ourselves. Yeah, so that also lacking a little bit in practice, I think. So analytical approach, I think, mainly consists of that one. Throughout the 10, I mean, the six different parameters, you do that. You sit down and you research how to apply what we say, how to apply the different parameters and conjoin them together and see where the balance is. What's the wisdom behind it, right? So same thing, I think, if I give another practice, if you have meditation, for example, then in regards to meditation, how do I combine meditation with the what is it, perseverance, for example? Yeah, meditation and perseverance. How do I connect these two? Yeah, what is meditation for me and what is perseverance for me? How do I combine the right amount of meditation? Because perseverance takes effort, meditation takes effort. If you putting effort in two different places at once, then it can drain energy as well, right? So this is the combination that you need to analyze. And I think this one we can do, of course, but on the Bodhisattva's path, we do it through the study of Madhyamika, right? So Madhyamika, the middle way. Madhyamika, very, very, very extensive. I think one of the more extensive practices when it comes to the teachings of the Buddha. Madhyamika, very, very extensive. And the reason behind why it's so extensive is because the implementation of the view of emptiness is so immense. Yeah. And the importance behind why the application of basically the three principal aspect of the path, it completely completely clears out all doubts in regards to the three principal aspects of the path. It not just that, it defines each aspect of the three principal aspects of the path. Not just defines, but it also goes deep within analytical means to, what do we say, to make things very clear so that application becomes extremely easy. What we want is easy application, right? We don't want sitting here, or you need to think about the view of emptiness. So then I'm thinking, view of emptiness. Oh, I want to make things, non-existence. The cup is non-existent in front of me. The house is non-existent in front of me. I am non-existence. Then you go try. Then the moment you open your eyes, everything comes into existence. Then your mind is going a little bit like, what's going wrong? Maybe my practice is not right. Maybe I'm not practicing the right way. So not like that, right? uh, we want, when we are applying means and methods to practice, we need to be able to click like this. Yeah, when we say emptiness, we need to be able to click with dependent origination. When we say emptiness, we need to be able to click with the concept of ultimate truth and conventional truth. When I say emptiness, we need to be able to click with karma. When we say emptiness, we need to be able to click with what we say, impermanence, the view of impermanence and the view of permanence. Yeah. So this one we need to make it easy. The way to make it easy so that you click like this is through the studying or through the practice of the middle way. Yeah. Madhyamika. That's what Madhyamika does. So anyway, the Bodhisattva's path is all about the application of Madhyamika, using the philosophy of Madhyamika and the wisdom of Madhyamika to be able to conjoin all of these different practices, especially in regards to the three principal aspects of the path. But then also, ultimately, even within the three principal aspects of the path, and then also in regards to emptiness. So you sit down, you think, emptiness, how do I apply emptiness to generosity? Sometimes if you apply the view of emptiness, maybe you see no point in being generous. What's the point in being generous? It doesn't exist. Neither exists from its own side, nor does it exist from my mental perspective. Neither does it exist from perspective, subjective or perspective path. Then what's the point of being generous? Mm. Yeah, so if you want to debate one day, then we can debate on that. Yeah, I ask you, you're practicing generosity, then you say, oh yeah, we're trying, or maybe yes, I'm practicing generosity. Then you're practicing the view of emptiness. Oh yes, I'm practicing the view of emptiness. How do you conjoin that? Why are you practicing generosity when all phenomena doesn't exist from its own side, but everything is merely live? What's the point of practicing generosity? So in that sense, yeah, understanding becomes important, right? So now the conjunction between those two. Yeah, so that one, of course, we'll go deeper into it. And then I think on the higher practice, in regards to major practices, like the after the 10 bhumis, then comes the tantric path. So within the tantric path, then of course, uh, 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 what do we say, understanding the nature of the mind, in accordance with, so when you understand the nature of mind, there are also different levels of understanding the nature of mind. We at the beginner stage, we are always looking at the mind, understanding the nature of the mind from a third person perspective, I always say. Yeah, because we trying to understand the mind. When we sit down and we analytically process, we trying to understand the mind in the sense that the mind that you have. If you apply, for example, if you apply the view of emptiness, then you say, oh, what is the nature of the mind? The nature of the mind is neither the anger that arises momentarily, neither is the satisfaction that arises momentarily, neither, that sort of thing. So we are, what we say, sort of like, breaking it down into pieces. And then finally, we see the concept of clear and knowing, right? So that's then somehow very lightly we can define, okay, that's the nature of the mind. Then once you go into the tantric path, then you go into the Buddha nature of the mind. Yeah, so we go into the different kayas, the understanding the different kayas in the sense of understanding the nature of the mind. So of course it goes deeper. So in regards to the tantric practice, understanding the nature of the mind in that sense, yeah, through the true nature of the mind, in the sense that the Buddha nature of the mind, right? Then of course the unity of wisdom and method, application of the unity of wisdom and method when it comes to the practice of negating the self-grasping attitudes, not just from a perspectival view, but negating it from a very what do we say um, uh, innate view, right? So when we talk about innate view, I think it goes down to understanding uh, well, millisecond arises of the grasping attitude. The grasping attitude for us, we don't even realize the small milliseconds that arise, the grasping attitude arises. Yeah, our uh, ability to perceive the grasping attitude, I think, is on a more what do we say, external sort of like a, third person view perspective sort of thing. Because if I'm angry for a minute, then maybe sometime the realization is there. That is if you are practicing. If you are not practicing, then the realization of the self-cherishing view in regards to anger comes after everything. The anger arises, then fight, then punch, then kill, then that, then everything finish. Then finally, when your anger is gone down and regret starts to come up, then a little bit of realization of the grasping attitude arises. Yeah, but then if you are a practitioner, then maybe sometime 10 minutes it takes, maybe sometime it takes 5 minutes before you realize, you're angry. You haven't gone into the killing and stabbing and punching and all of that thing, but then you have gone through maybe a little bit of a verbal what do you say, verbal exchange, negative verbal exchange, and then after that you realize. Then for some people, if you're even more better practitioner, then even the verbal exchange doesn't happen before it. You realize your anger before the verbal exchange. So this level, you already see the differences in practice. Then you go into the tantric path is very, very, very momentary. Today Kechingma we say in Tibetan, right? Today Kechingma, I don't know how maybe a little bit outdated. The concept of today Kechingma, the concept of millisecond is a little bit outdated, because nowadays you have machines that millisecond machines that can sort of like what do we say, uh, recognize how many milliseconds in a second. 100,000. Yeah, 1,000 milliseconds in a second. Okay, so thousand. Now you're dividing into 1,000. 1 second you divide into 1,000 different pieces, right? In the concept of Tudikejigma, when Buddha taught, maybe we didn't have these machines in those days. So he said it's similar to one able man, with a strong hand. When he clicks, when he snaps his finger, then that snap, the time of the snap is divided into 65 different milliseconds. So it only goes to 65. So now we are beyond that. We are already into 1,000 milliseconds. so so now you think, yeah, in the tantric practice, it's more about realizing the arise of the grasping attitudes on that basis of the small. Anyway, uh, just a little bit of information here and there. Then of course through that understanding direct perception of the view of emptiness, right? So that one would be on the practice of the tantric path. Then I think next session, starting next week, next month. This one very connected, because we'll go through the methods of development, listening, contemplation, meditation, and then regular reflection on the teachings and discussion with your peers, or what we say, debate, basically. That's what happens in the monastic system. It's debate. So debating within your, and debating not out of anger, and not out of pride, there is that also, in the monastic system. Sometimes we look at the monastic system and we think, oh, such a what do you say, such a wonderful place. Everyone is a practitioner. Everyone is so kind. Everyone is so compassionate. Everyone, practitioner. They study, and then within the monastic system, it's like now it's turned into a study system. So of course there's a lot of pride. So some people, they're very, 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 very good in debate, and they're very, very knowledge, but then the pride they haven't let gone. So then when it comes to practice, uh, is not there. But then when it comes to learning wisdom, so much, so much. So that's why also wisdom has, like I said, the balance is extremely important. If you want to get rid of the pride, if you want to get rid of anger, hatred, because through pride, then we already see anger comes, hatred comes. Nowadays, it doesn't happen much, but in the earlier days, before I went to Sarah, I hear these stories where, there are fights in the debate courtyard between monks, like physical fights, physical altering fights, because, because when debate gets intense, then emotions get intense, then, yeah, what do you say, people become a little bit, so there have been these things. So always remember that practice is never to prove someone wrong or to prove, with this concept, then of course pride is going to come, right? If I'm here to prove you wrong, then I'm trying to dictate you in some ways, right? I mean, this is what dictation happens. Yeah, you're there to prove someone wrong. The main concept of wisdom is not to prove anything wrong; is to prove something that is, what do we say, validated. Is to validate things. It's not to, it's not to prove. It's to define and validate. It's not to prove. So anyway, uh, we will cover that next month, definitely. So coming back to the points, on the basic level practice, again, dependent origination, understanding how all phenomena arise in dependence with cause and condition. So I always say the link between uh, impermanence, that link between impermanence creates a very, very good foundation for understanding the view of emptiness, because uh, impermanence, the concept of impermanence, tuje, uh, is related to, of course, breaking down and, what do we say, not annihilation, but more like a, what do we say, disintegration, right? So the concept of permanence gives a solidified view on disintegration of thought, disintegration of mind, internally thought, mind, concept, emotion, so on, so forth. All of those that have the quality of disintegrating comes from the view of impermanence. Then externally, attachment towards house, towards money, towards that, towards this, towards all of the things that you're proud of, then that one also very strongly related to the disintegration, external disintegration, right? So very fine line there. And then the second point, continuity. Yeah, once we have, one of the best examples, I think, in regards to uh, continuity, is through meditation. We say single pointed meditation. So breath, for example, the continuity of breath. The moment it stops, then it ceases to exist. Then in some ways you also cease to exist when the breath stops, right? So the continuity of the breath, giving the right amount of, what do we say, whatever necessary for your existence. So that one is there. Then also in regards to single pointed meditation, some people focus on candlelight. And then you see the candle what do we say, disintegrating, but then the dependence of the candle's disintegration relying on the flame on top. The moment the flame goes up, then the disintegration doesn't happen anymore, right? But as long as the flame remains, then the disintegration continues. So dependent disintegration itself depending on something. That is also the concept. Then continuity. continuity in the concept that the flame continues, the continuity of the flame, the disintegration depending on the continuity of the flame, and then the continuity of the flame also depending on the continuity of the supply of oxygen, right? So the moment you put it in the vacuum chamber, the flame goes off. No more oxygen. The flame cannot exist. So now you start to see the integration between continuity, disintegration, what is that? And then of course labeling, right? So now you say, oh, the candle has died. Yeah, the candle has died based on the disintegration of the candle coming down, and then the flame becoming non-existent because there's nothing to disintegrate. Yeah, so concepts like this sort of provide the outflow of what impermanence is. With that concept, then of course application of the concept of continuity, as always. I think one of the best examples is ourselves. We nurture, we eat, we sustain. Yeah, and then we sustain through the food, through that, through this. Yeah, we sustain our body. Then our body grows. Yeah, first is a few but a few inches tall, then slowly grows up, becomes a few feet tall, then slowly, shrivels down, and then when time of death comes, then the whole body disintegrates, integrates in you. If you burn the body, then it turns into ashes. So the continuity of the body turning into ash, smoke, whatever it may be. Now that ash people take, throw in the sky, throw in the water, wherever they want to throw, they throw. Some people they put in the pot, remembrance, then all kinds of different things, right? So that is also the continuity, right? Then if you bury in the ground, then the half of the whatever the body, whatever, becomes food for animals, bugs, and so on and so forth. Then so it rots. Then through the rot, then turns into food, and then food turns into waste. So then waste turns into manure, then manure turns into what we say supply for trees and vegetables and so on and so forth. So continuity is always there. It may not continue as the exact same thing, because this, I think our mind always thinking, if it continues, then it has to continue in the same form, in the same nature, in the same, that sort of concept we have. So we need to break through that concept and see that the continuity exists. But as long as the continuity exists, it exists in different forms. And I think this is also one very good thing to analyze in order to get a clear understanding of ourselves as well. Because when we talk about the continuity of the mind, yeah, past life, previous life, so on and so forth, the continuity, that continuity also depends on the same analytical process, right? So if you want to understand, uh, or want to make your understanding of our own continuity stronger, then also that also comes through the understanding of impermanence. So impermanence being a very good pillar to supply logical points to what is it, to support the concept of dependent origination, then also support the logic of impermanence. No, not the view of emptiness. So through that, then we understand, okay, dependence is there. Yeah, we look at our own life, you already see the dependence. Everything is dependent on something else. If you are independent, the way we think, oh, I'm independent, I make my own thing, I cook my own food, in reality, we call it independent, but no, the food comes from somewhere. Yeah. Oh, I build my own house. I clean my own thing. I make my own drain. You know, I make my own car. But in reality, the car is dependent somewhere, right? Even the food that you buy from the grocery store dependent on something. Even the money you make into your pocket dependent on something. So you see the concept of dependent origination, the concept of dependence is very wide. We are not as independent as we think we are. um, so that one, and then the concept of origination. of course, very strongly implemented in understanding the true nature of reality. Yeah, origination. Uh, I think now that one something you can also debate on, uh, and you can meditate on origination, the concept of origination. The concept of origination is not beginning. Yeah, we don't talk about the beginning origination. Oh, where did it start from? How did it start? No, not like that. Origination in the sense that the formation is coming based on the what is the outline of that physical what do we say object or whatever being uh, being in existence because of our conceptual. I think Kyavjalamatovden Zobarimbuche always use merely label, merely label, merely label, right? So this concept, origination, I think, very strongly related to the concept of origination. The origination of pride, grasping attitude, all destructive emotions, not just destructive, but also productive emotions, not just productive. Even the concept of origination itself is also dependent on origination. So uh, understanding it in that level, I think, makes it more clear to be able to analyze, in the sense that you need to analyze to be able to what we say define it, right? So the concept of dependent origination, I think, starting point, easier point, I think, self, yeah, yourself. Then from yourself, then extension into the view of impermanence, then from the view of impermanence, then extension into dependent origination, and then from the view of dependent origination, extension into the view of emptiness, then true nature of reality. So that one. Um, then of course seeing how uh, seeing the continuity, in the sense that seeing how ignorance leads to suffering through the 12 links, right? So we have the three poisons. If you know the, what do we say, wheel of life, we call it. I had uh, I don't remember exactly. I think it's His Holiness. His Holiness once, when he was teaching, he said, "Oh, the wheel of life, so different from what used to be back in those days in Tibet. Because now in Tibet, outside the monastery door, you see the wheel of life. So in Tibet, we used to use wheel of life to scare the shit out of people." So they practice. They don't want to practice. So we say, if you do good, you go here and you receive this. Because inside you see in the painting, the wheel of life painting up there, you have trees and all of these things. Then down there, you have people being cut and boiled and, all kinds of. so, so, so it's always one of the teachings I remember. In Tibet, we used to use this diagram to scare the shit out of people so they will practice. But in reality, this shows the very clear um, concept of karma. Yeah, very clear concept of dependent origination. Yeah, the concept of the 12 links on the side very clearly defines the dependent origination. Then the three root poisons defines how the continuity happens, where the poisons lead to, what the poisons produce, and out of that production, what results you get out of the poison. So this is very clearly the continuity explained. So the concept of what do we say, ignorance, rude ignorance, leading to suffering through the 12 links. Then practical observation of cause and effect in our daily lives. Of course, you can also sort of like see that uh, some people, when they think about karma, cause and effect in the sense of karma, they think very solidified. Karma. Uh, you believe in karma, then you have no free will, because whatever is happening and whatever is going to happen out of karma. Where is the free will? No more free will. You have no choice. You have no nothing. right? Whatever you have created, then you need to suffer. If you have done something good, then you enjoy. But then also the enjoyment finishes based on the karma. So how much you enjoy also you cannot decide. Some people think in that way. But I always say the concept of karma is the root to, I think, everything is root to everything in Buddhism. But then again, important, I think, an important way of understanding true freedom. Yeah. Uh, when you understand consequences, then when you choose something, you choose very clearly, right? So, let's say investment. Yeah. If you understand investment very clearly, then you can make a very clear choice on what to invest in. And through that investment, if you know the results, then of course you're going to, if you want to become rich, then you can become very, very, very rich. What's his name? Um, Warren Buffett. Yeah, Warren Buffett, everyone know. Warren Buffett is very, very informed, they say. I don't know. I've never met him, but they say he's very, very, very informed when it comes to investments, right? So, I think he has full financial freedom. Don't you think so? Because he knows how it works. Yeah, he knows the consequences of what kind of consequences come from what kind of investment, right? So therefore, he has full financial freedom. If he wants to make more money, he can. If he wants to make less money, he can. And he can do it out of choice willingly. So similarly, if you understand karma, if you understand the true karma, then I think from my perspective, I think you receive a very, very similar kind of freedom. Full freedom to choose what can be, and that also by understanding. Yeah. So I think true liberation comes in the sense through understanding karma. A lot of people, when they think about karma, they, my karma, what to do? We have this a lot in our community. Not in the Western community. I don't know the West community, but in our Sherpa community, in our Tibetan community, lere, they say lere. Lere means like it's karma. Yeah. So everything is except. Yeah, I have something happened, karma. Then it's not just ourselves but also on others. When we say, oh, this person has this problem and he's facing this problem now, he's doing, then we are developing a little bit of compassion, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of care. We feel bad. We want to help in some ways. Then even that good feeling, that positive feeling is destroyed by the concept saying, later is karma. It's his karma. Then even the compassion gone. What can I do? There's nothing I can do. This karma, right? So don't go to that direction. And that direction is very dangerous. I think very harmful for practice as well. Like I said, if you're unable to look at from the right perspective, then even people suffering uh, gives us no what do we say no perseverance and enthusiasm to become a Buddha, to become a practitioner. So it becomes very dangerous in that sense. Yeah, if everything is dependent on karma and we have no power over anything, then what's the point of even practicing and trying to become a Buddha and trying to liberate others? There's no point in that. So there's extremes, Chetalungba, nihilism. Yeah, so don't go to that extreme. There is, if we understand karma from the right perspective, so much liberation and freedom comes from that point of practice. So application of observation of cause and effect or karma in our daily lives, I think this gives us a more clear structure in practice. Then, of course, the three marks of existence that we talked about. In regards to that, observing how everything changes moment by moment. So same concept of a momentary change applied. Then within momentary change, the application of momentary change in the concept of practice, right? So always look at your practice on the time span, right? So if your anger was 1 day and you are able to decrease it to 11 hours or 12 hours, very good, there is development there. Then if the anger coming down slowly from 12 hours to 10 hours to 9 hours to 1 hour to half an hour to 5 minutes, this is the practice. Yeah, reducing the amount of destructive emotion, contemplation of destructive emotion, this is the practice. Consistent, of course, is another practice, but mainly main practice is, I think, there should always be rejoicing when it comes to you looking at yourself maybe 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Look at yourself, look at your mind. Yeah, and see the change. Am I a better person? Am I kinder? Yeah, am I nicer? Yeah, am I more open? Am I more accepting? Am I more patient? So this is real practice. You see the differences in the change. So the aim is milliseconds, right? So destructive emotion non-existent for even a millisecond. That is the goal. That is the ultimate goal, of course. Tantric practice is all about milliseconds. Yeah, when you're practicing channel and so on and so forth, and all of this, it's all about milliseconds. Yeah, so that one, of course, when you are trying to see, observe where the differences are, that becomes an important aspect. Then recognizing the what is unsatisfaction, so of nature and conditioned existence. So to develop compassion, we need to be able to see a very valid reason to be compassionate. Yeah, of course, if you are a bodhisattva, then you don't need to. Yeah, compassion arises no matter what, no matter who. There's no differentiation. But on a general basic level, we need differentiation. We the mind, I don't know how, but the mind just works in that way. Maybe it's constant, continuous practice for many, many lifetimes that we have practice that makes our mind so dependent on defining different things so that our emotions arise differently. Oh, that guy doesn't have a hand, doesn't have legs, then oh, compassion arise easier. Oh, that guy has hands, has legs, has a lot of money, has big house, has that. Oh, compassion arise little bit hard, not easy. Oh, that person is Donald Trump. Oh, then compassion very, very, very hard. so so the level of compassion that you can arise, always defining. Should I, is it worth it? Is it valuable? Is it not valuable? So you see that defining, right? And I think uh, this one sort of like keeps our practice at bay at many instances. Even we want to develop compassion, but we cannot because of our nature of how having to define, having to differentiate, having to do all of that, right? So again, another perspective we want to uh, I think when Gyabzin Lama Zobramuji said, what is it, live with compassion, die with compassion, eat with compassion, sleep with compassion, that kind of concept, to develop that kind of concept is going to take, well, if your mindset is right, if like I said, uh, whether it becomes easy or whether it becomes hard is dependent on the mind. It's not dependent on anything else. For some people, if you look at the story of Milarepa, even though he killed 23 people or something like that, with anger and hatred and all of that, he was able to, one lifetime he was able to achieve a full liberation, enlightenment. So that is based on the mind, how strong the mind is, what the mind really wants, where the validation is really clearly shown. Then forget about killing people, but even if you not kill people, some people, some, there's procrastination, there's laziness, there's so on and so forth, and that one keeps us at bay many, many, many times. But then generally we say, oh, when we look at our teachers, and this one something I always had. Look at Kyabjala Zobo Rinpoche, his qualities, his abilities, his means, his ways, his thinking, his thought process. You look at all of that, you think that's impossible for me, right? And that itself is already keeping me, already becoming an obstacle for me to reach there, of course. Then when I look at my teacher, uh, when I was studying under him, the previous Gandhi Rinpoche, uh, when I was studying under Genla, uh, we would have such a hard time memorizing and such a hard time recalling. Then Genla, you know, and we studied the five major taxes, Dimika, Paramita, and all of that. The text we memorize in the morning, just before we go for PT to Genla place, we memorize. Then after that, we go to Genla place and then we forget everything. It doesn't, doesn't stay up there. Then Genla, we look at Genla, and we have to open the books because we can't remember. So we open the book, we look at Genla. Genla doesn't have his book open at all, and then he's close his eyes and he starts to recite, and he's word by word by word by word. And that's when Genla was what, 80, 70, 80 years old. Now he's 90 years old this year, same age as His Holiness. And at 70, 80, you close his eyes. Maybe he studied what we studied, I don't know, 50 years ago or something like that. But still, even now, you close his eyes. And Gela says that, oh, yeah, when you close your eyes, you can see, like, like you are looking at a book very clearly. We close our eyes, we don't see anything. Darkness, complete darkness. So then you look at that ability and you're like, oh my God, there's no way. Yeah. But then, like I said, uh, slowly you tend to understand that it's not when you look at you take the perspective of there's no way, then of course there's no way. You need to make a way. That's how it becomes possible, right? So same thing with compassion, I think. When it comes to application of the means and the methods of developing compassion, then we need to practice. And the best method to practice is through analytical. When you have hard time developing compassion, then you need to see uh, reasons to develop compassion. If I gave you 10 different reasons to develop compassion towards uh, Donald Trump, maybe I think Donald Trump one of the most hated person in America at the moment. Yeah. So if you look at that, then the more reasons you have to develop compassion, then slowly the easier it becomes. So something like that. Um, maybe he can be the ultimate, what do we say, the ultimate duckweed to develop compassion, the ultimate level of developing compassion. But the concept is starting small always. The more in tune you are with your mind in developing it and how to develop it, the easier it becomes. So like I said, when you have when you are on the bodhisattva's what do we say, bodhisattva's level, then developing compassion to the point where you are sacrificing yourself becomes extremely important. But then as on our daily basis, then we start developing compassion for innocence. I think innocence is a very, very, very empowering thing to develop compassion, right? The more innocent we see, the easier we're able to develop compassion towards. So we start in that sense. Then, of course, uh, we have all experienced when Gebje Lama Tuden Zoparim makes his extensive dedications, 4 hours, 5 hours dedications. Then he doesn't leave anything out. Even the ants, even the bugs, even the mosquito, even the frogs, even the snakes. Goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Which we don't have the patience in some ways to 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 go on and on like that. In regards to me, I definitely don't have the patience. But I think the ultimate goal is to reach there through this kind of practice. Yeah, we are all in agreement with that. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, understanding, of course, that one in regards to what we say, the three marks of existence, right? So mm, then what was the third one? Uh, mm, oh yeah, then of course on the basic level of practice, I think the third one, analytical meditation, wisdom. You need to understand wisdom is defined through different practices are different defined through different kinds of meditation. Wisdom is very closely connected with analytical meditation. So without analytical meditation, wisdom application of wisdom becomes very hard. So don't expect to to concentrate on breathing, focusing on breath, and focusing on what is single pointed concentration and trying to develop what we say wisdom. That won't happen. um analytical meditation meditation through the five aggregates, mainly what we say, examining form, feeling, perception, then mental, what we say, formation, then consciousness. So the process of how you understand yourself, every practice happens within, always starts within. If you don't, I know some people think that is a little bit sort of like cheesy to say, but it's not cheesy to say that unless we learn to love ourselves, our ability to love others becomes a sort of like limited. As I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but it's true. It's true in the sense that application or practice always starts from within yourself, right? So development within yourself comes from the analytical point of view, where you can apply the profound logic and reasoning to why you need to perform in that way. Yeah, so that performance, I think if you are meditating, then it starts through the senses, because the senses are something that we are very in tune with. Yeah, so it starts with the senses, then of course the consciousness, meaning our mind. Yeah, the process of the mind, the formations, when you are happy, when you are sad. It's important to be happy. Why not? Why not be happy? Yeah, what is the reason to not be happy? Yeah, of course, if you talk about there's a debate when we were in Sera. I remember once we had a debate in regards to the Bodhisattva mind, Bodhicitta mind. Then we think the Bodhicitta mind should be suffering all the time, every single day, every time, so much suffering. Why do we want to achieve bodhicitta mind? So my main point was that, and I was trying to say, yeah, so much suffering. And why? Because there's always, you always see the pain of others, you always see the suffering of others. How can you be happy? You can't be happy that way, right? I mean, if I see you are suffering and I'm happy, then isn't there something wrong about that? Right? If you are in pain, then I should also be in pain. I should be in solid, what is solitude, solidary, or something like that. I don't know the word, but anyway, I should be in that sort of like link, no? But in nature, when you understand the mind, it's not like that. Yeah, the happiness grows from realizing that you have the ability. You see the suffering, yes, there's sadness, but then there's so much joy because you know the way to liberate them. Yeah, you have someone loved, you have someone who you love a lot, it's in pain, and you have the antidote. You're going to be very happy. You're going to jump with joy because you have the antidote towards that. So something like that, I think the process happens. Anyway, it was quite a debate, um, and I got laughed at because I made that point. I made the point that bodhisattvas are always suffering. Anyway, I think the same application of the concept also happens in regards to the processing. Then, of course, looking into the nature of thoughts, emotions, and sensations, that one, investigation, especially in regards to investigation. Then, mindfulness becomes also an analytical process, because analytical meditation, some people think meditation, you need to sit down, cross legged, eyes half closed. But analytical meditation is not that. I think no meditation is like that in some sense. It's just, we say, the conditions, right? So in order to, if you are a beginner, then in order to make the set the right conditions, then you need the conditioning, and the conditioning is that. So this is a method, but in reality, true meditation, I think, is real awareness, always aware. Yeah, aware of when wisdom should be applied, aware when methods should be applied, aware when your emotions are, in the flow of your emotions, aware that you need to apply means and methods, wisdom and logic, and so on and so forth, when your emotions are, so when you are angry, meditate. When you are suffering, meditate. When you are, uh, having issues here, there, meditate. So that kind of really the what do we say, the final level of becoming a real meditator is being able to be aware each and every second, and being able to apply wisdom and method each and every second, and not just each and every second, but using being able to apply the right wisdom and the right method each and every second. So that, I think, is the whole idea of why meditation needs to be done. So I think the final sort of concept is that, because when we study about the bodhisattva, arya beings, bodhisattva, especially the Buddha, we always see the the level of the mind is so profound, because it is always in meditation. Yeah. So on the what is on the path and ground, then there's, when you are a bodhisattva, there's nyamsha jedop, nyamsha jedop, nyamsha jedop, means in the meditative state, then out of the meditative state, then in meditative state sort of thing, like that. It's explained like that, but the awareness is never gone. The awareness is fully there all the time. I think a great example that we can all relate it to is, I think, Kyabje Lama Thupten Zobo Rinpoche. I never, I don't think I've ever heard of Rinpoche making a mistake in some ways. Um, Other than, the concept of manifestation, maybe. But then again, coming back to the level of awareness and level of application when it comes to practice, there's no doubt that the level of the mind is always in meditation. So something like that, I think the main goal of meditation, you need to think of something like that. Yeah, so that one is that. Then, of course, in the practice of the two truths in the Bodhisattva path, and then the practice of the two truths, conventional truth, what we say, understanding the functional reality of everyday experience, that is, in the sense. Then also ultimate truth stages, where the, what we say, nature of emptiness in all phenomena. So similar to what we discussed earlier, application of phenomena comes in all different senses, but I think the main practice has to start with the concept of cause and effect of impermanence, right? Then from the concept of impermanence leading into, of course, dependent origination, and that becoming the main source. So if you look at if you study Madhyamika, you will see that the concept of dependent origination is the one and only fully, no, what do we say, no doubt, method of realizing uh, the view of emptiness. So that is there. Then, of course, what we say, in regards to, what do we say, correct view development, then, uh, yeah, what do we say, method of the middle way, by avoiding the two extremes. I think there are two extremes in every path, right? So if you are on a human path, where you're on a bodhisattva path, where you're on a tantric path, or where you're even on the Buddha's path, there's always two extremes. And the method of application of wisdom or the madhyamika is to avoid the two extremes. So always, and I think internal and external, I think this is one thing that is lacking is internal and external madhyamika, which means the middle way between internal and external, right? We sometimes depend too much on internal and not so much on external. Sometimes we depend too much on external, not too much on internal. So if you look at the world, what do we say, cooperative world nowadays, then I think corporate world is good. It can help. The money is good. It can help. You can provide food for people who don't have food. You can provide shelter for people who don't have shelter. You can help people who need the external necessities. So much good you can do out of money, right? But then, like I said, if you don't know the balance between internal and external, then you become a little bit of emotional less, yeah, too much self-cherishing, too much pride, too much, self, greed, and all of that. Then, you know, external becomes so important. Then it's all about proving. You have the money, but then you're not using the money in the right way. Yeah, you use the money in the wrong way. Yeah, so things like that can happen, of course. So being able, I think, if you look at the worldly situation right now, then application of madhyamika between internal and external becomes important. The balance between internal emotion and external gain. So madhyamika can be applied everywhere. Therefore, it becomes important. So then, of course, a lack of inherent existence. I think we did go quite extensively between conventional and ultimate truth. Uh, so pretty much that. Then of course, the integration, like I explained earlier, the integration of parameters. Um, what do we say? I think defining between subject, object, and the value between the subject and object, the what do we say, the action between the subject and object. These three things are the main, what do we say, main points of being able to understand the empty nature or the emptiness of nature. The view of application of the view of emptiness happens, I think, solely on these three bases: subjective, objective, and then what do we say, the action between the subject and the object. So these three things, application in regards to all parameters, even when it comes to generosity, all the parameters that we went through, even when it comes to wisdom. So application of wisdom in the sense that you need to know to apply wisdom at the right time, with the right means, with the right methods, right? So wisdom is, I think, when we talk about wisdom earlier, we also talked about experience. I think on the on the on the on the general concept, for me personally, I think uh, wisdom, of course, knowledge is one part where wisdom comes from. Knowledge is very important, and wisdom grows from knowledge. So that is one part. But another thing that we sort of like ignore a lot is the ignore when it comes to the sense where wisdom arises from is, I think, experience. We think of experience in many senses. We think of experience as just as an experience, but when you are recalling things and you learn things, you don't learn that that is the means of applying wisdom. So that's why we are so harsh on ourselves when we make mistakes. And never be harsh on yourself when you make mistakes, because mistakes that you make tend to become wisdom, uh, you know, uh, in the future. Yeah, so we learn from mistakes, and that's also wisdom in some ways. So anyway, coming back to the point, application of wisdom in that sense, integration of the three perspective of the subject, object, and the action between the subject and object. Yeah. Then of course, uh, I think if you look at the concept of development, then happens in that same, I think it happens in that same way. Um, Another thing, when it comes to practice of higher level of tantra, uh, because in the Lamrim talk about guru devotion. uh, Guru devotion is because of proper empowerment. Then, of course, sacred commitments, that is also another thing. Then, because the sacred, what is a commitment and proper empowerment, these two things become the source of your consistency, right? So, if you had if you had a person you fully trust, if Buffett came to you and said, okay, from today till the end of this year, you invest in this stock, there's full trust in faith. So most likely you will do it. If I, who has no knowledge on investment, came to you and said, invest until the end of this year in this stock, most likely people won't do it. And the reason, and the reason because the knowledge level, right? So same thing happened, I think, in regards to what we say proper empowerment, because I think Guru devotion, again, another subject, is a little bit intense. And this thing, maybe one day we can go through it also. But again, I think we did have that last time. But then, so application of these more rigid practices emphasizes many requirements in the tantric practice. So that one we sort of let it be now. But the main thing to understand when it comes to tantric practice is, of course, the concept that I shared earlier in regards to breaking down time. So, uh, we think, oh, my anger came and went. Oh, very good. Now I have, what to say, I have conquered my thought and my emotions. But then again, if you go down to milliseconds, then you start to see, oh, my anger was there for 1,000 milliseconds. So so in that sense, it's something like that. So in if you are in the level of being able to was to deal with the destructive emotions on that level, yeah, now we can take it, like I said, in the early teachings of the Buddha, he taught 65 milliseconds, and now it's 1,000 milliseconds. So we have the opportunity in that sense to see what is growing and what is not growing within us. So I know anyway, through this, I think the six paramitas application in the right amount of wisdom, the right wisdom, no, not the right amount, the right wisdom, and through the right wisdom, then knowing, applying the right method, and through the right method, then of course applying it. Yeah, just knowing the wisdom and the method is not good enough. Of course, application, action is important. Mm, I think one thing that in the past, I think His Holiness also mentions, uh, in the Christian community, the application is very, very, very good. Yeah, the application in the sense that whatever the motivation is, I don't know. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, maybe it's neutral. Who knows? But application is very good. You go to what do you say, country, set up schools, set up hospitals, help people with their education, help people with that, help people with this. It's amazing, amazing, amazing work, right? And His Holiness also mentioned that in Dharma that there's a little bit of lack in regards to that in Buddhism. Maybe not in the Western community, I'm not so sure, but definitely here in the Eastern community, it's all about monasteries and pujas and prayers, and not so much about application of these methods, right? So how to develop wisdom, how to develop, why is the wisdom, these are very, very, very intensive, extensive. But then when it actually comes to doing, then everyone is taking one step back. So of course, something to keep in our mind, that we need to not just know, but also learn to apply. Yeah, what time is it? Yeah, we're nearly there. Okay, so I think through this, the main motivation, the main goal, like I said, to be able to develop. For me, I always take Kyabjala Matpuz's over Rinpoche, and then also previous Gandhi Rinpoche and His Holiness as the three principal examples uh, um, of course, countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are there, but for me, as someone I can see and someone I have known, and I can, I think that version is also important. So for me, through that, of course, you can take whoever you have in your mind in regards to practice. So in regards to that, then the motivation development becomes important, right? So with this, we develop motivation in regards to of course, at the ultimate goal, achieving enlightenment, all benefit for the benefit of all sentient beings, to be able to liberate, to be able to be the cause to liberating all sentient beings from the samsaric existence, and then liberating them into what we say, of course, becoming Buddhas themselves. Then on the external side, of course, we do what we can. Like I say, I always say, don't go over your limits. So we do what we can. We're not. I mean, I'm not Bodhisattva yet. Maybe you are. If you are, then maybe your dedication can be different. But because I'm not, my dedication is within my limits. I have my limits. So with whatever limitation I have, and with whatever capacity I have, I utilize these capacities and these limitations to be able to do as much as I can in order to provide and sustain, of course, bring peace, comfort. Especially, I think the world needs this nowadays. There's wars happening everywhere, so much hatred, so much anger, so much destruction. And this is not just, I think, with each other, but within ourselves as well. Because of the external impact for our internal side, then also for a lot of people they have problems in regards to instability inside their mind as well. So practice is even more important nowadays. So with that, you take the intention of becoming a practitioner, a very, very, very strong practitioner, a very, what do we say, um, uh, um, uh, infused, not infused, encouraged by the situation nowadays. uh, we take the motivation to be a more uh, what do we say, sustainable practitioner, or more confident practitioner, and especially confident for ourselves to be able to do all of that. And then of course, to do that, we need to be able to see ourselves in the way I always say, look at your mind like your own child, because without being able to see your mind like your own child, then the right necessary, what is equipments or application sometimes doesn't come, because we are very harsh on ourselves. So not to be harsh on ourselves, and then utilize the knowledge of the six parameters in order to, of course, bring peace within ourselves and on the world, of course, and then ultimately develop greater compassion so that we can develop what we say, the enlightened mind. Yeah, we are good. Any questions? We can take one question today. No questions. Okay.
I can
Okay.
ask.
And Nim.
If nobody else has a
Yeah.
question, ask a question.
Ifisha. I don't know.
Yes, yes, yes.
Ifi.
If
Ifi Isha.
yes, that's it.
Is it Ifi Isha? Ifi.
If okay, that works too.
Please.
My my question was, when you were talking about impermanence and continuity in regards to the
I can't hear
consciousness.
you.
So impermanence, can you hear me now?
Can you hear her? Him? Her?
I can hear you.
I can't. What's happening?
Shayla, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. It looks like we all can. hang on.
I don't have the karma to ask this question.
1 second, okay.
How, can you hear us, Rinpoche? No? Yes?
Something wrong with my headphone. Anyway.
Okay. How
You
about
hear
now?
me now?
Oh yeah, now I can hear. Something wrong with my
Okay.
headphone. Sorry.
My question was around continuity and impermanence of the consciousness. Is there any part of the consciousness or any part of anything that can be considered permanent in nature, or is everything absolutely impermanent, even related to continuity? Because
Could you repeat? Sorry.
if something is going on and on, so it's continuing, then there has to be an aspect of it that is permanent, as in not in unchanging, but solidly stationary, there, permanent. So is there any part of the consciousness that we could regard as being permanent, the part that takes the karma from one to the next?
Yeah. So in the four kayas, we have, I think, which was it? Emptiness. So application of the view of emptiness, when we are practicing in the view of emptiness, then application of the view of emptiness happens in all formation. One of the formation that the application of the view of emptiness happens is on the formation of the mind. So the nature of the mind being truly non-existence from its own side, merely labeled from its own side, merely labeled from the mental side, merely labeled from the perspective side, all different aspects of the nature of itself being non-existence through the what do we say, conventional view, and the lack existence of the conventional view of the mind. That one they explain as permanent. So within the four kayas, now I don't exactly know in the Sanskrit and the English word, but I think it is Dharmakaya, maybe the emptiness of the enlightened mind. That is a part of the kayas. So, we have the four kayas. So one of the kayas is the empty nature of the kaya, of the mind, the Buddha mind, and that also is permanent. No change in that. So the inherent existence, intrinsic non-existence, that one is empty in all phenomena. I mean, that one is permanent in all phenomena. The true nature of reality is permanent in all phenomena. There's no change in that. It's not just permanent, but there's no change in that. The true nature, the true nature of reality in each phenomena is never going to change. It's going to be true nature of that phenomena itself. And that is the lack of existence of the conventional existence. So if you look at the mind, that form itself is, I think, permanent in itself. So if you look at, for example, if you look at anger, the anger comes and goes, exists, non-existent. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't change. The results are also different. Sometimes anger brings happiness, sometimes anger brings sadness, sometimes anger brings that. Results are also different, through this, through that. So this is all impermanent. Continuity, consistency is not there anymore. The continuity concept happens based on the concept of change. So without the concept of change, then the continuity does not happen. So if you're looking for continuity, then you definitely have a state that it's impermanent, cannot be permanent. The state of continuity itself is impermanent, right? But then, like I said, if you're looking for the concept of implication, where there is something there, no matter how much it changes, no matter how much continuity there's something there that doesn't really have any change, doesn't have any continuity, that just exists from beginnings to endless time. That one is the true concept of what we say, non-existence of conventional existence. That one very clearly permanent, right? No matter how much your mind is changing, it's the conventional, the non-existence of the conventional side of that mind is going to be permanent. It's not going to be one day conventional, one day ultimate, one day nothing like that, right? So the non-existence of the conventional side of the mind, of course, the conventional side itself is changing always. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's green, sometimes anger, sometimes that, but the non-existence of the conventional side, that one is not going to change. It's always there. That's why it's called the true nature of reality. It doesn't change. There's no concept. There's a realizing it is important that it doesn't change in that sense.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
I'm gonna listen to this again. The
Okay.
record. It does. I get it a little bit, but I know I need to again to fully get it, because what I think I'm hearing is that you're saying inherent existence is impermanent. Is that what you're saying? The lack of inherent existence. The lack of inherent existence is permanent.
Yes. Lack of inherent existence is permanent.
Okay. Okay.
This is a true
Okay.
nature of the side, yeah?
Yeah. Intellectually, I get it, but I think, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
meditate. Utilization of meditation. Okay.
Yes. Thank you,
Okay.
Lama.
So we stop here. Yeah. So next week, I think the next topic we are doing is, I think I told today, what was it? The three wisdoms, application of the three wisdom in Buddhism. So important method, especially in regards to method, important, I think, but then also too much information sometimes, just too much. So if you feel like joining, you can join. Then if you feel like someone needs to hear that in regards to application, then of course can join. But then yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this course. Then of course, as I always recommend, whenever to do, always creates the workbook. So I hope you're all doing your homework in regards to the workbook. And then of course, keep on practicing always internally, externally, and practice always starts with yourself. So be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself. And then, yeah, we keep on going one step at a time like this. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.